You can see with that pan out shot as they were heading into turn 3, they are continually turning left when they get to the backstretch. It is a curved backstretch, and of course the front straightaway curved as well. It's really a true oval by all accounts.
In a sense, yeah, that can make it a little bit tricky when there's no straightaway to kind of relax your steering a little bit. You kind of have to make sure that you're always keeping in mind of where you are in the racetrack when you're trying to make that turn.
Wide, 3 wide. This racetrack very spacious. The nighttime conditions as well going to allow for drivers to be able to rubber in those second and third grooves. We may end up seeing drivers have to utilize right up against the wall by the latter portions of this race as well, as Shane Neiswanger drawing up alongside of Jared Duda. It kind of looks like, at least here in the early going, as we have a caution, first one of the night. And we got a couple of trucks in trouble back here. That's Jeremy Pienta in the 42, as well as the 73 of Kyle Cooper. A lot of front-end damage on the 73 Chevrolet Silverado.
Curious to see what happened there. It looked like it was just at the back of the pack, but a couple of trucks already spinning around here in this one.
Looks like Pienta may have already had to call the tow back to pit road. May have not even been able to drive that thing back to his stall under power, as here it is.
Ooh.
Yeah, it looks like maybe a little argument over space there. 42 comes up a little bit. Saw a couple of trucks using the apron there on the front straightaway, including the 51 of Trent Curtis. I don't know if maybe any reaction to Trent coming back up in the entrance to turn 1 brought the 42 up the racetrack here. Yeah, it's just tough to tell there with this onboard from Kyle Cooper. Looks like one was kind of turning in for the entry to the corner. The other one was maybe planning to oval it, to diamond it there, maybe drift up a little through the center of the corner. And unfortunately, they both met in the same piece of real estate. And that is a massive impact.
Yeah, that's a hard hit to the outside wall. And as you said, I don't really see anything to prove otherwise. It looks like they were just kind of going for the same piece of real estate.
The only other thing I could think of is maybe did the 73 not know that they were 3 wide, but whatever the case, massive contact and some pretty significant damage sustained on Cooper. We'll have to see if he continues, but I think that a shot like that is going to be the end of the night very early on here for Jeremy Pienta, so tough break for him. As looks like we got a bit of a mixed bag here. About maybe a third of the field have decided to hit pit road. We do have a few of the playoff drivers intermingled there as well. Ashton Lawson, who started on the outside of the front row, came to pit lane. So did Spencer Owens and Jared Darling. So the only thing I can think of here for most of these drivers is maybe topping off the fuel tank. I don't really know 6 laps in if you can gain an advantage on putting on a set of tires.
I don't either. I mean, I don't know if this is exactly the friendliest track when it comes to tires, but only 6 laps in, that feels a bit early, so these drivers might just be a little bit concerned about fuel.
So it looks like maybe 2 drivers may have actually put on a set of Goodyears, Lawson and Darling. Everybody else that was on pit road just topped off the fuel tank here, and of course, be interesting to see with 125 laps, depending on the fuel window. Do some drivers feel that this ends up eliminating a potential pit stop under green if they put fuel in the truck right now? Granted, for a couple of them, they're giving up a lot of track position to do so.
Yeah, that they are. They probably have to have a lot of trust in how they feel like they can race over the course of what might be a longer green flag run. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see how this race plays out and how the cars adjust over time.
6 previous races have been run here at the Chicagoland Speedway. 2 drivers here on the front row have formerly gone to victory lane here at this racetrack. Christian Peterson and William Barbagelata. Hunter Madalinas, we talked about what he's been able to do at the mile-and-a-half tracks this season. He also is a former winner. And, I think Ross commented, I think there's just about every track on the circuit in this series this guy has won at. Elliot Henderson, a 2-time winner here at Chicagoland Speedway. He's going to actually restart on the inside of row number 4 in that 3rd position. But, we talked about those core 4 coming into tonight that are battling for the championship mathematically. with 20 points separating. All 4 of them going to restart here inside of the top 10. Madalina's the furthest back in that 10th position. So that's been the tough thing, really, in these playoffs for a lot of these drivers, is when they have a good day, everybody else they're battling also has a good day, so you're not able to make up that chunk of points that you want to.
I feel like you just kind of have to worry about running your own race if you're in that situation as we get back underway. Just kind of focus on yourself and what you can control. Don't worry about everybody else. Just try and have the best day you possibly can and see what you can do from there.
Christian Peterson, one of 3 4-time winners on the season, able to clear William Barbagelata, who'll tuck down in front of Matthew Durr. Ooh, may have gotten a little loose there off of turn 2. I don't know if he was trying to make a move on Peterson or if the back end of the truck stepped out. Whatever the case, it's brought him alongside of Peterson for the lead into 3. Barbagelata is going to lead.
Okay, Alex starts to this one. I mean, when we had the initial green flag, they were on each other's bumpers going through 1 and 2 on the inside, and now this.
Start the South and restart. To your point, they have been quite crazy here. Double wide, 3 wide here with, was it Hunter Brittle in the middle? Matthew Weeks way up there, only about maybe a half a truck length off the outside wall, as he's going to get to the right rear quarter panel of Jared Duda. Elliot Henderson, who we're on board with, he was on the bottom of that 3 wide situation and losing a little bit of ground. I was going to mention, prior to that caution coming out, it looks like most of the drivers on the initial start, and we're kind of seeing it here on the restart as well, that were on the inside line through the corners. They're not being able to quite get the power down as early as drivers in the middle to outside line, not able to produce quite as much speed. So one would have to wonder if we'll see more and more and more drivers migrate further up the racetrack looking for that better quarter exit.
Be looking 3 wide for the lead right here. Ooh, blocked him, did the 49.
And now Weeks, he went from top to bottom, thought maybe about getting to the inside of Barbagelata, thinks better of it. It's kind of a little un-Matthew Weeks-esque, if you will. We normally end up seeing him be one of those that kind of hangs back, doesn't necessarily get aggressive on the restarts, and tries to save his tires and his equipment for the long run. We're seeing a little bit different of a side of Matthew Weeks here this evening, feeling that track position maybe is a lot more important than the tires underneath them, trying to put the pressure here on Barbagelata, who puts a block on him there, up behind Shane Neiswanger. My goodness, you'd think we were at lap 124 rather than lap 12.
They said every lap like it's their last already. I guess that answers that question that we were asking pre-race about how much pressure is on these playoff drivers. They're certainly racing like there's a lot of pressure.
Okay, well, I think we're getting a little bit of a dress rehearsal here as far as what tires can do. Remember, we mentioned Jared Darling came to pit road, put on a set. He is up to 5th, and he is ripping the top. He has made his way through the field in a hurry.
Truck is flying right now. Couldn't quite make the pass to the outside.
Oh, hang on to it. Oh, no.
That's a hard hit.
Matthew Durr further up ahead, collected up as well. Might have been a couple of other trucks that got bits and pieces. And just like that, 2 playoff drivers are junked in 1 and 2.
Oh, my goodness. I couldn't quite tell what happened because we were on board looking at the front, but maybe just a little bit too fast for the trucks surrounding him.
Not sure if he got into the right rear of Barbagelata there, maybe got some help from behind. Definitely the truck snapped loose. Look into the outside here, and then it looked like there is just the slightest bit of contact.
Oh,
Hunter Brittle as well as Elliot Henderson both got pieces of this incident, and then close call there for another truck right up against the outside wall. But man, that's got to be a gut punch when you had such a fast truck, had the advantage on tires, and more than likely within the next 2 laps, Jared Darling was going to be the leader of this race, and all of a sudden, just straight up into the outside wall. And that, I'd be a little bit concerned about that contact on the right side of the 37.
Yeah, I think Henderson might want to keep that in mind, and we'll have to keep an eye on what they do on this under this yellow flag.
Of course, we've entered into the month of October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. Saw Jared Darling as well as Matthew Durr with the pink featured on their trucks, and at this point, just what can you do? That little clip there to the back of Jared Duda, and then the bump from behind by Matthew Durr. Straight up nose first into that outside save for barrier. More than likely, that is the evening done for Jared. Or sorry, correction for Jared Darling. Been a tough playoffs. He came into tonight 10th of the 10 playoff contenders. He's had fast trucks every single week. It just seems like circumstances always seem to not favor him. He hasn't been able to get the finishes indicative of just how fast his truck really is on a weekly basis. And oh boy, these playoffs just continue as we draw towards the close of the season. They just continue to not work out in his favor at all.
Like a little bit of a longer pit stop there from Henderson. I think they might have been assessing the damage that might have occurred during that crash. So.
Oh yeah, okay. So we couldn't see the one side there on the replay, but yeah, look how that whole left front fender above the tire is missing. So that's going to be a while on pit road for him. And Elliott came into this race 15 points below the points lead. He, along with Jackson Sims, were just barely still in the conversation. And look now at with where they currently run after weeks won that battle off of pit road, 41 points back. That's the territory that drivers like Matthew Durr and Shane Neiswanger were in coming into tonight, and we have them mathematically really not in the hunt for the championship. So if Henderson's not able to find a little bit of luck here tonight, maybe have some issues with some of those other front runners like Madalinas and Weeks, we could be heading into 2 races remaining with as many as 2 drivers still in the hunt.
Just to show you how much of a massive implication that one wreck can have. I mean, we were talking about Henderson not even being the primary car or truck involved in that one, and you see what kind of damage that can do to his race and to his potential playoff hopes here. The good news is I don't believe he lost a lap. I think he got back on the track before the pace truck passed by, so he should be restarting on the lead lap here.
We're working our second caution of the night. 17 laps into this race, and already 3 drivers are behind the wall. Most recently, Jared Darling, as well as Kyle Cooper and Jeremy Pienta, who were involved in our first caution of the evening. Matthew Weeks won the battle off of pit road. He's going to be bringing us back here for the restart with Shane Neiswanger to his outside. Couple of playoff blue banners above the windshields here, and Matthew Weeks going to clear both lanes. He'll leave Jared Duda and Neiswanger to battle for second. As surprise, surprise, we're going to fan out. Double wide, 3 wide here through 1 and 2 once again.
That looked like a tight 3-wide battle up near the front.
Barb Gelada, the bottom, looking for the spot on Jared Duda, who thought about going down to block, wasn't able to do so. Barb Gelada gets 2 for 1 there on the back straightaway. He'll slot into second, and then Neiswanger and Duda. Now what was a second place battle between the two is now for third. Surprised to see that 10 of Hunter Riddle still up here. He ended up getting a minor piece of that most recent caution, but looks like it wasn't anything detrimental enough for them to keep him on pit road and repair. He's under fire from Christian Peterson now to his outside for the 5th position. So may have been one of those few drivers collected up in that most recent wreck that dodged a major bullet.
Maybe. I mean, a lead change right here going onto the backstretch. Oh, a bit of contact there, battling for second.
Shane Neiswanger now going to the point. He's been able to make up some good ground in that middle line. He hasn't necessarily ventured all the way up to the wall, but he's been able to find that run off the corner and now puts himself out into the race lead. Shane came into this race 49 points back. He would need an absolute miracle to get back into the championship hunt. But I look at him, Jackson Sims, Matthew Durr, drivers that have had really, really good consistent seasons, were able to point their way into the postseason here. Even though right now the championship may be out of reach, I don't think that makes them any less motivated to try and find a checkered flag before the end of the season. Niswanger still with a 0 in the win column. Maybe tonight is the night that he finally gets that first checkered flag of the season.
Could very well be. I mean, that can be all the motivation you need sometimes to go out there and put on the best day possible. Don't it? If you have a 0 in the win column, you at least want to get rid of that donut, if you will, and try and find victory lane for the first time. So drivers that aren't exactly in the championship hunt will still have that as some form of motivation.
Last week at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, it was a lot of fun to watch Trent Curtis and Hunter Madalinas pretty much not even use the racing surface. They were down on the apron in the corners just about every lap. Right now, they're back in the 6th and 8th positions. There is Curtis in that bright yellow number 51 Midas machine with Christian Peterson. The pole sitter 2 is outside. Madalinas right behind them there in the 7. Madalinas kind of just hovering for the moment outside of the top 5 but inside of the top 10. And I mentioned about his numbers at 1.5 mile tracks coming into tonight. This is typical Madalinas. He'll usually just kind of hang out towards the latter portion of the top 10 in the early going, and then he turns up the wick in the second half. We're not really seeing him force the issue and charge to the front like we saw Matthew Weeks do. As a matter of fact, Weeks has gone to the race lead, getting by Shane Niswanger, so put the 56 back out in clean air.
Well, look at all those trucks that just went to the way bottom of the racetrack, almost to the apron. Just on the apron.
Oh, we got one coming to pit road here. That's Robin Durr in the 98. Looks like there's some damage, yeah, on the right front of that machine. No caution. We might have gotten up and into the wall maybe, but was able to keep it straight. We stay green for the time being, but issues there going to bring that number 98 machine to pit road for an unscheduled stop. But you mentioned about that apron there in the front straightaway. That'll shave off about maybe 1 to 2 tenths on your lap time. The thing you gotta make sure about though is if you're using that apron on the front straightaway that you have enough room to your outside to be able to come back up to be able to dive it into the corner. If you enter in too shallow into turn 1, you're probably not gonna make a very good corner.
I was getting a little bit nervous watching that on board. Based on what we saw earlier in the race.
One of the things that I love about when we get into the second half of the season and into the playoffs, of course, we put a lot of the emphasis on the drivers that are battling for the championship, but then you also kind of see an evolution, if you will, of drivers from the start to the conclusion of the year. Look at that bright Robin's Egg blue, number 85 back there. As Trent Curtis gets the wall off of 4. But that's Cy Jackson just behind Hunter Madalinas, and in the last month, his finishes have been really, really good. His performances have been really, really good. He was in the conversation for the victory back at Talladega Super Speedway. Another great run here tonight in that number 85 machine. There you see, he started this race. He's currently in the 9th position, started this race back from around the 15th position, so he's made up spots since the drop of the green flag, and jumping to the outside here of Hunter Brittle for another spot inside of the top 10.
Just running at your own pace and pacing yourself throughout the race is how you want to do that. He's doing a great job so far, making up some ground, and if this keeps going his way, we could see him up fighting for the win near the end of this thing.
Talking about a driver where things have not gone his way in the early going, we were kind of wondering just exactly what the end result was going to be for Elliot Henderson with all that right front damage. Looks like that truck is off the pace right now. He is hanging on to the tail end of the lead lap, some 20 plus seconds behind the race leader. So It doesn't look like the speed is in that truck anymore. He's going to need a little bit of help to stay in this championship conversation. He's going to need the 56 of Weeks, the 7 of Madalinas, maybe even the 6 of Jackson Sims to have their own issues here tonight, and there's still plenty of opportunity for that as well with 95 still to go. Here you see what was 3 points Madalinas over Weeks coming into tonight has now changed to Madalinas -3 to Weeks. Maybe this is why the full court press type strategy that we've seen out of Matthew Weeks, because he knows that eventually Madalinas is going to make his way up here to the front. Maybe looking, I don't know, maybe trying to look for those bonus points here, trying to get any advantage possible is Matthew Weeks. Of course, as well, he's trying to make it a 4-way tie for most wins on the season. Right now, Daniel Nanny, Hunter Madalinas, and Christian Peterson with 4 each. Matthew Weeks currently sitting with 3.
It's a tight battle, but every point matters.
Single filed out with the top 5, it looks like. 6th place, though, side by side. Curtis and Madalinas. Doesn't look like Curtis's truck is any the worse for wear after we saw him kind of pancake that right side off of 4 earlier.
He looks good.
Saw there on the live point standings, Jackson Sims about 27 points back. He's currently in the 11th spot, trying to work his way into the top 10. Jared Duda there in the 53. Currently holding down the 3rd spot. Of course, we ended up seeing last week when Hunter Madalinas went to victory lane, there were some hurt feelings at the conclusion there. Some contact off of turn 4 coming to the checkers between Jared Duda and Hunter Madalinas, and maybe a little voicing of the displeasure after that race was over. We talked to him post-race and everything. He said, no, I'm still going to race everybody as clean as I can, but you got to wonder if the 7 gets up there to the 53, we talk about mile-and-a-half racetracks, aero blocking, maybe we end up seeing the 53 do a little mirror driving, something to kind of follow up on here as we get further into this race, as Ashton Lawson with those left sides on the apron rides it up the track right in front of the 6 of Jackson Sims.
Barely had just enough of a gap to fit between those trucks. If he didn't, that could have been a disaster.
Right pink truck there on the bottom. Giant Tiger number 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald, who gets a little squirrely in front of Spencer Owens. Now he's 3 wide. Brent Kincott on the top side. And who's up right in front of them? Brent Malone. Good comeback for him. We saw him first driver to test out that safer barrier in the opening stages of this race, and he's trying to close back up on the top 10, currently running, I believe, in the 12th position.
All this has been going on. I've been noticing the leaders have been going back and forth, so I'm almost curious to see if we have a bit of a tight battle or if they're just kind of exchanging runs like this, where one's running in front of the other and then the other's taking advantage of it. Still pretty clean for now. They're making me nervous the way they're running on the apron, and then they go up the track through turn 1. They're getting really, really close to the wall.
Starting to close up here on that wounded 37 of Elliot Henderson, so he's going to go a lap down. Update on that 98 of Robin Durr that we saw make the unscheduled trip to pit road. They've pushed his machine back behind the wall, so he will join Jared Darling, Kyle Cooper, and Jeremy Pienta out of this race. As to your point right there, you can see different drivers with different styles on the front straightaway. Some keeping it up there in the first or second groove above the white line, but a majority of them migrating down onto the apron. Also noticing a lot of drivers now starting to go right up there as close to the wall as possible. Saw Gavin Fitzgerald doing it earlier. It looks like Christian Peterson has also gone right up against that white safer barrier there too, trying to rubber in that outside groove.
I think you were talking about it earlier too, about how some drivers might eventually, as this race goes on, try to work their way up to running the top of the racetrack, and it looks like that's indeed the case.
Duda now going up there. William Barbagelata went up there, but I'm wondering if maybe he went up there to take away the clean air to the 71. Look at the dive to the bottom here. by Jared Duda to the inside of Shane Neiswanger, trying to get the power down off the corner, and Neiswanger with a little bit of contact with the outside wall there off of turn 4.
Doesn't look like Duda was able to take advantage of it just yet. Might have second-guessed himself after seeing a little bit of smoke come up from the 49 hitting the wall.
We see trucks sliding up, getting the outside wall here and everything. You know, maybe not as crazy a strategy when we saw Jared Darling come to pit road under that first caution and take on a set of tires. It definitely looks like these drivers are slip-sliding around, clamoring for grips, especially when they're getting back to the throttle on corner exit. So nighttime conditions at Chicagoland, I know it's an older track surface, but I wouldn't have thought that we'd see quite as much tire fall-off as we are. Kind of keeping that in the back of the mind might make things interesting if we end up getting some of those late race yellows, as there is a change for 5th place. Madalena slowly, methodically working his way closer up to the front as he gets by the pole sitter Christian Peterson.
Slowly but surely chipping away at this race lead, but eventually you're going to come across a bunch of trucks that have been fighting as hard as they can just to stay within the top 3, 4, 5 positions. So this could get very interesting.
Peterson still trying to get that run down the back straightaway. Matthew Weeks, I don't know exactly if this battle for second place has allowed him to be able to pull away, or maybe if he's been able to save a little something here for the long run, but this is about the biggest lead we've seen anybody have so far tonight. 0.8 of a second back to this second place battle between Neiswanger and Jared Duda. You would think that with what we've seen so far in this race, how everybody's just kind of been all locked together, that we would end up seeing not as big of a gap, but Matthew Weeks right now doing a good job, good consistent lap times currently according to the scoring, albeit about a second and a half slower than his fastest lap, but that's been Matthew's strengths. He's been one of the best long-run trucks this season. Doesn't matter if it's a speedway, a short track, he always is able to keep those tires preserved as long as possible so that he has this kind of speed at the second half of the run.
Looks like Duda might have lost out a little bit on that battle. I was going to say, it looked like from that camera angle he was under fire for 3rd position, but still has a little bit of a gap in front of those trucks as they're going to be 3 wide behind him for a moment.
Over a second from Weeks back to Neiswanger. Battle here, a 3-way battle for 4th, maybe a 4-way battle for 3rd, as William Barbagelata trying to close up on Jared Duda. Hunter Madalenas right behind him, and Christian Peterson enters into the conversation. They're going to catch the slower machine of Matt Durr. He's going to run the top side here for Neiswanger and Duda to get by, and that may have affected the air in front of the 27 of Barbagelata, who's going to get the wall. Little contact made between himself and Madalenas, as I think Madalenas was trying to force his way back up onto the racetrack there in preparation for turn 1. Oh, we're not done.
More contact.
We are not done. There is still contact being made between Barbagelata and Madalenas. And if you're Madalenas, remember, you've got the most to lose in this situation. Barbagelata is not battling for a championship. You are, so you might want to temper those fires as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah, I know that there's obviously a lot to lose when you're in the championship hunt and everybody else surrounding you isn't, but just take a breath, take it a little bit easy here.
This may not be over. Barbagelata again able to draw alongside of Madalenas. Down the back straightaway going into 3. Now Christian Peterson going to get alongside of him. Close racing, more contact this time between Peterson and Barbagelata. That left side of the 27 is going to get all worn out. Here is Madalenas and Duda. We saw the 2 of them make contact last week coming to the checkered flag at New Hampshire. How will these 2 race the first time they've been side by side tonight? Not giving him a whole lot of room there up at turn 4 is the 53.
Still kind of working his way down the track. This could get a little sketchy going into turn 1 as they both have to go up the track there and keep it clean for the time being.
Both have that Ford sponsorship on their hoods, but they are not teammates as now. Jared Duda, a little lockdown there to the bottom, maybe thinking that there'd be a move, and now here comes Christian Peterson. These are teammates, the 53 and the 71, ganging up on the 7 here. They've got him boxed in off of 4.
Not a good place to be if you're the 7.
I think Matthew Weeks is aware of what's going on back here, but this is certainly playing out into his favor as he's got clean racetrack in front of him, not having to worry about everything that's happening in the rearview mirror. 2 seconds back to Shane Neiswanger. Now Madeleines has gotten to the outside of Jared Duda and might have him clear for the spot. The question is, though, how much time did he lose in that exchange?
I mean, if Weeks has a spotter telling him everything that's going on right now, he probably would be happy to hear about it. All this battling is going to let him pull away as we got a truck on pit road.
Trent Curtis, looks like he almost lost it trying to come to pit lane. May have been a very late call, but he did make the commitment line, and this may begin the cycle of pit stops here as we're getting close to halfway, about 11 laps away from said halfway point. Ashton Lawson, I believe, has been to pit road in the 26. So he actually began the cycle. Trent Curtis followed after him. Brett Malone in the 29 has now hit pit lane as well. So we're starting to see more and more drivers migrate their way onto pit road. And we've seen during the course of these playoffs, pit road has played a pivotal part into drivers' championship hopes as well. Not exactly one of the toughest pit roads to get onto, but it doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes. It now looks like Shane Neiswanger from second place has made the dive.
Some varying strategies so far between him and Matthew Weeks. I'll be very curious to see how that one plays out too, if Weeks can have something in response to try to maintain as high a position as he possibly can.
Be interesting to see just how far drivers plan to go as Matthew Weeks on pit road. Ooh, that did not look like a very good entry there for the race leader. Almost looked like he was pointed towards the inside wall. I don't think he made contact with anything, but the execution, how smooth your entry to pit lane is something that determines what you're going to have in terms of valuable track time. Is, yeah, he locked him up, he's able to get on the brakes, but you look at that, you're talking, what, probably about maybe 3-4 seconds on the racetrack that you just gave up right there with that mistake.
Yeah, that's a bad mistake to make, especially if you're leading the race and trying to respond to a move made by the guy who was running in second. So bit of a tough break, bit of a mistake there for Matthew Weeks. We'll have to see how he responds.
There you see the 49, Shane Neiswanger was able to leapfrog him as he was on pit road earlier, and even Neiswanger ended up having a little bit of a slower approach to the commitment line, but he managed to keep it pointed in the right direction. Here comes Madeleines onto pit road, and he's going to lock him up. Whoa, I don't know. That looked like he may not have gotten it woed down quickly enough. We'll have to wait and see.
Road entry proving to be a bit of an obstacle so far.
Michael Sensi is also on pit road. Looks like this should complete our cycle of pit stops. So looks like for the most part, these last couple of drivers coming down the pit lane went 40 laps on their tires. So if that's about what the window is, that means we've still got one more pit stop to the finish, which is probably going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 30 laps to go. So you kind of have two choices here if we continue to trend green. You could run that full 40 laps, come down pit road with 30 to go, or you could take these final 70 some odd laps, kind of maybe split them in half. We might see most of the field coming down 30 laps from now. Sorry, 35 laps from now. And look how this has changed the landscape of this race now. A lot of those drivers that came down early, Neiswanger to the lead, Curtis into second, Ashton Lawson right now. Oh, caution's out. I think Lawson might have had a problem. Yeah, he's up against the wall there on the front straightaway. He was another driver that I was just going to mention that had gained a ton of track position. Looks like he and William Barbichelata might have gotten together there, maybe off of 4.
Couldn't quite tell if I saw a third truck involved too. I'll have to go back and check.
It's like, oh, we were
they were 4 wide.
Wow. Look at the air on the 26.
Well, you're not going to make 4 wide work at this racetrack.
No, apparently not. That left rear tire came up off the ground as Ashton Lawson came up into the path of Brent Malone. And this was a case here of different drivers on different laps of tires. Lawson looked like maybe he got a little loose off the corner. It scrubbed off speed, and all the drivers behind him looked to take advantage. And we were 4 wide, a wild ride there for the 26 of Ashton Lawson. And this caution at least coming out after the pit stop cycle was complete, rather than kind of throwing a monkey wrench right in the middle of the cycle. But now will be the question, I mean, nobody can make it the rest of the way, but do some drivers come down and top off that are at the tail end of the field? We'll have to wait and see.
Definitely we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I think that whole incident was just drivers that were fighting for position in that moment. And I think too many of them had the same idea at the same time. And of course, when you go 4 wide like that, it's going to lead to some issues. As there you go, some drivers already back on pit road.
Yeah, it's Brent Malone. He's obviously got some damage, I would assume, around the nose, the grill area, as he was the one that had the contact with Ashton Lawson. Everybody else appears to be staying out, so it doesn't look like anyone's going to kind of roll the dice, get that extra couple of laps of fuel here under this caution period. Lucky dog, looks like it's going to be Matthew Durr in the 18. There you see him going around and getting that lap. Bad news for Elliot Henderson, because he was the other truck currently a lap down. He would, if we were to get a future yellow and no other driver fell off the lead lap, get any future free pass. And, you know, I look at here now, a chance after we ended up having that 40-some-odd lap green flag run, a chance to kind of reset. Look at the drivers. 3 of the top 4 in the points coming into tonight. Hunter Madalinas, Matthew Weeks, Jackson Sims, 5th, 6th, 7th for this upcoming restart. Again, these playoff drivers always seem to find each other at some point in the same area of the field.
I feel like that just makes it even more of a fun watch, though, to see all these playoff drivers right up against one another here. So every position matters, every point matters. Feels like it amps up the pressure a little bit more, though, when you look out your window and you see there's another playoff driver right there next to you.
Yeah, I guarantee you, it's fun for us as commentators. It's fun for the fans, but it is frustrating as a driver. This has been a show-out race for Shane Neiswanger here this evening. Saw him in that dogfight with Matthew Weeks. They exchanged the top position back and forth, played the strategy here with the undercut on the pit road cycle, and he's now the race leader. His best finish coming in tonight was a runner-up finish, and that was back at the Auto Club Speedway. He's looking for that one position better, as he'll share the front row with Trent Curtis. Christian Peterson, Jared Duda going to be row 2. Madalinas and Weeks still locked together back there in row 3, with Jackson Sims, Cy Jackson, William Barbichelata, and Hunter Brittle the top 10. Want to remind everyone that next week, it's the next to last race of the season to determine who's going to be in the championship hunt. We're going to be at the Iowa Speedway for the Casey's 150 next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, we cap off the season in the Lone Star State, as we'll be at the Texas Motor Speedway to crown ourselves the champion of the 11th season, the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. 65 laps to go here this evening. Neiswanger gets us back under green. Looks like a few drivers got some pretty decent restarts, but they all accordioned up.
Going to quickly gain that time back up, though, on the leader. We're going to be 3 wide again through turn 2. Just like that, we have some trucks side by side for the lead, but there's a lot of contact.
Weeks in the middle of that there with Trent Curtis to his outside side, Jackson to his inside. Lead exchange as
Ooh.
Curtis gets the wall. Barcelata with a little blink there. That might need a new change of shorts for Matthew Weeks off of turn 4 as Peterson goes to the point. Madalinas looks to move to second. Shane Neiswanger all of a sudden under fire in that 49.
I would definitely need a change of shorts if I saw the truck in front of me blink. You have no idea where they went. They just disappeared. You don't know if they're still there or not. And then they reappear out of nowhere. No thanks.
Christian Peterson started this race from the pole position. Has kind of had to slowly work his way back up here, though. Finally in clean air once again. Has them locked up for second. Madalinas on the inside of Shane Neiswanger. Jared Duda looking on in fourth with Matthew Weeks currently in the 5th position. Both those drivers inside of the top 5, talking about Madalinas and Weeks, came into this race 3 points separation. They've really been keeping it single digits, whether it's been the 7 at the top of the points or the 56 at the top of the points, and still close together. So if we continue to run the way we are, we could end up seeing this single digit points battle go all the way into Iowa and maybe into that finale at Texas. Like we single filed out a lot quicker here on this restart than we did on the initial start and the first restart.
Yeah, they quickly got back into single file as I don't think anybody wanted to take any too big of a risk here. You kind of see that you're about halfway through the race, so just want to take things easy. Don't overdo anything just yet. Still got plenty of time in this one. Still got another cycle of pit stops too, I believe, so still a long way to go. Don't make any kind of mistake. Take any kind of risk that can upend your entire race.
Some great battling here outside of the top 10. Brent Kincott in the 5, Lewis Woodall in the 13. That is currently a battle for the 12th position. Spencer Owens just behind this battle, along with Gavin Fitzgerald. First time we've mentioned Nicholas Caressel's name here tonight. We normally see him up trying to get into the top 10 in these races, but been a bit of a quiet night for him. Michael Sensi up the track in front of this pack, and all of a sudden, what was a battle for 12th place on back, we've now brought 8th, 9th, and 10th back into this conversation as well.
So as soon as they get calm at the front, there's chaos at the back now. Or about mid-pack here.
Ooh, Sensi looked like he may have lost the back end of his truck there off the exit of 2. He's going to brush the wall a little bit. So far, we haven't necessarily seen anybody that's hit the outside wall be off the pace. Maybe it scrubs off a little bit of speed, a little bit of momentum, but these trucks are pretty durable. So unless you end up hitting at a really bad angle, it looks like these trucks can kind of handle a little bit of a brush to that outside safer barrier.
Yeah, if it's not the most major contact in the world, it should be just about okay to keep on going. I think it takes the wrong hit at the wrong angle at the wrong speed too. Duda has found his way up here to the front.
And almost has Neiswanger cleared for second. Mentioned a teammate to the 71. You notice Peterson, the line he's running is we're on board with Neiswanger. He's running the same line that the 49 was running, putting that dirty air to the nose that allowed the 53 of Jared Duda to be able to have the clean air, the better downforce, to clear for that second position. So even though Peterson is the race leader, he's still able to manipulate the air to help his teammate now move into that runner-up spot. And now Christian Peterson and Jared Duda, they can kind of maybe try to work together to keep the rest of the field at bay. Here's the battle for fourth between our two top championship contenders, Madalinas and Matthew Weeks. Weeks, for the most part, on that last run, was fairly committed to the bottom. Now searching around. He went top in 1 and 2, now to the bottom here in 3 and 4, trying to find some way around Madalinas.
Once again, the playoff drivers have found each other on the racetrack.
And right behind them, Jackson Sims, who's trying to keep himself mathematically in the hunt. Right now, he would be ahead of Elliott Henderson, up to third in points. The problem, though, is he wouldn't gain a whole lot of ground on Madalinas and Matthew Weeks because they're both the first two trucks right outside the windshield. Timing of that yellow was interesting in the regards that we went back green with 65 laps to go. We know that about 40 laps is the furthest they can go on a run. Do we see drivers come to pit road around 25 laps to go, or do they try and split it in half as contact? Nice swanger up into the wall after contact there from Hunter Madalinas.
This is what happens when four playoff drivers are right here with each other, running not exactly in the standings, but 1, 2, 3, 4 right in front of each other. So every move is can be pretty intense in a moment like that.
Nice swanger back into the 6th position as Madalinas, Weeks, and Sims all made their way by. And now Matthew Weeks has gotten back to the outside of Madalinas, side by side, now for the 3rd position.
Every move, every decision you make in a battle like this is just going to be that much more important.
Just how important would this battle be? Take a look at the live points as they're running. You're going to see as the nose of the 56 or the nose of the 7 edge out ahead of each other. The points are 1 point difference. Weeks currently -1 to Madalinas. If Madalinas pulls up ahead, he's ahead by 2, and the caution is out. Rod Fastnow has had an issue. I believe that is over in the center of 3 and 4. Looks like Kurt Gibson as well. Caution waves once again here tonight at Chicagoland. South of us being able to make it the rest of the way. 50 laps to go. So now is the question, with 20 laps on these tires, do you come down pit road and plan for that final spot or stop to be around 10 to go, or do you stay out as contact there? Fast now into the back of Kurt Gibson. Looked like maybe Gibson had to check up there for Barbagelata ahead of him as they were entering into the corner. He's on board with the 4. Gibson makes the move. Yeah, it looked like maybe the 27 came down to block. 47 lifted. And Fastnow was running the same line, makes contact into the back of Gibson's machine, and around he went.
Just about everybody's going to chance it here, taking the opportunity to come to pit road. So I think they are going to try and split this last segment of the race up here. And I mean, I guess we'll see if we run caution free to the end of it. Like you said, they are probably going to have to come to pit road with about 10 to go. So that'll make these last 10 laps really interesting.
You have to wonder if maybe we'd end up seeing drivers, if this is all speculation again too, a caution could definitely change things up between now and the finish, but well, with running about 40 laps on the tires and 10 laps to go, would we maybe see drivers risk just the right side tire stop, or would they spend the extra time on pit road changing 4? It'd be very, very interesting to see what type of strategies get played out in the closing stages, as this caution will put Elliott Henderson back on the lead lap. We did have an issue. I'm not exactly 100% certain what it was, but Eric Kempf about 3-4 laps ago had a problem, had to come to pit lane, and he's returned to the track, albeit 3 laps down. There you see him actually ahead of the leader, Christian Peterson. Looks like he's going to take the wave around, but looks like maybe some issues for him that lost him quite a number of laps under green flag conditions. Seen a number of trucks up into the outside wall, so I wonder if maybe something like that might have happened to him. But he will get one of those laps back, courtesy of the wave around here after everybody else came down pit road. And Christian Peterson's team gets it done with that number 1 stall. He'll be bringing us back to green with Jared Duda, his teammate, to his outside. Matthew Weeks, Jackson Sims. Actually, correction, make that Matthew Weeks, Hunter Madalinas, and Jackson Sims. That's the way they'll line up for the top 5. Nicholas Caressel's team. Great pit stop for them. He's now up into 6th. 7th for Cy Jackson. Then Shane Nicewanger, Spencer Owens, and Michael Sensi going to be the top 10 as we get ready to go back green. 24 drivers running. Currently 22 of them on the lead lap. William Barbagelata -1, Eric Kemp -3. As green flag back in the air. Less than 50 laps to go here tonight at Chicagoland.
Not a great restart for Peterson, or at least not for the moment, but then he got a nice little surge there through 1.
Down the apron to make sure nobody jumped to his left rear quarter panel is tight here off of 2.
Oh, man.
Jackson all over the back of Hunter Madalinas. Someone just disappeared for a moment. That was Jackson Sims as he's back, and we're 3 wide for the top position here through 3 and 4. Major squirreliest Matthew Weeks as he hangs on to it.
Oh, my goodness. I have no idea how he didn't spin out in there.
Look how that just stacked everyone up. 3 wide. They were thinking about 4 wide there on the front straightaway. As now Jared Duda going to try and clear for 2nd. Nicewanger has to bail out of the throttle in that 3 wide situation. And here comes Madalena surging on the top.
Annalise is going to have to make absolute certain, though, that he's clear if he's going to try and dive low and make a pass. And right now he's not. Might try the high side, thinking about it.
He's peeking. Might have been trying to get Duda to move up the track to try and shoot up the middle. Here comes Spencer Owens in the 23. He's had a very quiet night, been run outside of the top 10 most of the evening. All of a sudden, he wants to get up here and play. He'll go for 4th on Matthew Weeks.
Gonna be looking 3 wide here for 3rd. Yeah, we are. Oh, bit of contact there. Owens hit the wall and then had a little tap with Madalinas.
Jackson Sims now gets the run in that middle lane on the front straightaway. As Weeks and Madalinas continue to be side by side. 3 wide behind them there. Cy Jackson had to lift. Just look at Weeks with a block to the top there on Spencer Owens.
That was gutsy, but it looks like it paid off.
Trying to cross over here, gets to the left rear quarter panel of Madalinas, does Matthew Weeks. They'll still battle for 3rd. Peterson and Duda loving this in the rearview mirror as they're not having to play a whole lot of defense. 3rd place continues to still be locked up here side by side, and that puts them all up from 4th place back to outside of the top 15.
Oh, I thought in the moment they're going to start battling for 2nd, but nobody's really tried to make a move on Duda just yet.
Matthew Weeks has been able to, at least for the moment, it looks like, get the spot there from Madalinas. Now for Matthew Weeks, he would like to gain another spot or have Madalinas lose another spot, because that would then have them tied for the points lead. And Owens might oblige as he'll get to the outside of the 7 for 4th.
Looked like Duda might have been peeking for the lead a little bit, but then he decided to back off, and now he's got to defend. As here comes Weeks on the inside.
That's the 2nd time we've seen Matthew Weeks be able to get that nice run off the top and cross to the inside on the front straightaway. He did it against Madalinas a couple laps ago. Does the same to Duda, but can he get the power down off of 2? Not yet.
Oh, man. Trying to push as hard as he can.
I jumped the crossover. Here's the crossover.
This is fun.
Flipping and sliding around multi-groove. This is what Chicagoland brings to the table. This is why it was put where it was on the playoff schedule, setting the table for that championship battle at the last mile-and-a-half speedway on the schedule, the finale at Texas. As now Weeks has cleared himself to 2nd. Here comes Spencer Owens to the outside for 3rd place.
You mentioned it earlier, Owens did not get a great starting position in this race. We haven't really talked about him all day long, but now here he finds himself inside the top 3, 4, 5 with 86 laps down, or we're on 85 laps now. We're on lap 86. But just like that.
Victory to open up the season at Daytona. Been a while since we've seen him up in the conversation for a victory, but looking strong here tonight. And while Matthew Weeks is moving forward, now trying to hunt down Peterson on the flip side, Hunter Madalinas, he has been drifting back. He lost a spot to Shane Neiswanger. Cy Jackson got to his outside. He's currently now mired back in the 8th spot.
Another thing I'm noticing too is the 49, Shane Neiswanger. He was running up basically consistently inside the top 2 for most of this race. Now he's sort of stuck in this battle here for about 3rd position, so I don't think he's too happy with what's happened as of late in this race, but there's still plenty of time to make up those positions.
Right now battling side by side with his teammate as they will settle that out. A couple of Dark Horse Motorsports Chevrolets and Neiswanger and Spencer Owens. Owens with a little drift up the racetrack opens up the door for Hunter Madalinas to look to his inside for 6th. They're also locked up for the 8th position, Nicholas Caressel to the inside of Cy Jackson. Keeping a look at the scoring pylon, that interval continues to slowly get chipped away lap after lap. Weeks is there. He is hounding Christian Peterson, but he finds himself in a Manji Motorsports sandwich as in the rearview mirror is Jared Duda.
I do not envy Weeks' position right now on the track. He wants to do everything he can to try to take the lead away from Peterson, but at the same time, a teammate is right behind him, so he's also going to play defense.
Again, too, it's so easy for us up here in the booth with all the information we have and everything. We don't have the adrenaline pumping behind the wheel of these trucks. We can preach big picture racing, but for Matthew Weeks, he may not necessarily know the situation right now for Madalinas, currently back in 6th. Matthew Weeks would have the points lead right now, but there's still 2 races to go. There's still 2 more opportunities for something to go wrong at Iowa and Texas. So for Matthew Weeks here tonight, it has appeared to be full court press for driver 56. He wants that 4th victory on the season. He wants to open up a gap between himself and Madalinas going into next week, but there you see it. It is still so close between the 2. Weeks right now running in 2nd, Madalinas back in 6th. It's only 1 point difference between the 2, and now it's tied with Madalinas getting around Neiswanger for 5th.
Weeks probably, if somebody was in his ear telling him the points as they run, they would probably be telling him, do anything you can to get by that 71 right now.
We got very fortunate with one of our cautions coming out after a pit stop cycle was complete. We've seen so many times in the past where a caution comes out right in the middle of it, and drivers that look like they're going to benefit from the undercut with those fresh tires on their outlap end up getting trapped a lap down, have to take the wave around, and lose all the track position they might have gained. I mentioned when we went back green, it kind of opens up the window a little bit of when these drivers might make that final pit stop. If you're Matthew Weeks, do you maybe consider the undercut strategy to get that spot from the 71 on the tail side?
I would say yes. I would say put pressure on him. Make the first move and see what they can do in response. See how they can try and fight back.
In the next lap and a half, we're going to be at 30 laps to go. We are in the window where drivers could make it the rest of the way on fuel. Now, granted, you probably would spend a little more extra time on pit road putting fuel in the truck now than you would later on in this race. But have to see if anybody ends up throwing down the gauntlet and makes that dive onto pit road here within maybe the next 10 to 15 laps. We're about nearly 20 laps into this run, about halfway through a fuel run currently. Got another 20 laps before everyone is absolutely going to have to dive to pit lane, and that'd be around the 10 laps to go mark.
Seems like the top three have backed
Here
off
we
of
go.
each other for the moment, as here we go.
30 laps to go. Trent Curtis and Lewis Woodall. They're going to try this alternative strategy. Will this draw more drivers to pit road?
Just keeping my eye on the live scoring right now, waiting to see when the first driver that's been in this, I'd say, top 10 to make the dive on the pit road.
It says to me, those drivers that just pit, they're definitely taking on 4 tires. I threw out the possibility that if you come down at like the latest opportunity possible, maybe you think about going with right side tires only, but I think this is way too early on into the run to consider a strategy like that. There'd be way too many laps that you're asking those 2 tires to hang on, as they're going to make their way again around Elliott Henderson. Tough break here tonight for the 2-time Chicagoland winner. Caught up in an early incident, has been dealing with a damaged truck pretty much the majority of this race. Not going to finish this race on the lead lap, and subsequently too going to lose a ton of ground on that championship battle. Can't say as of yet that he's no longer in the hunt, but certainly going to be a tall hill to climb with only 2 races remaining.
And I will say credit, too, to at least staying on the racetrack and sticking it out for as long as you possibly can. Try to get whatever points you can possibly get out of this race. It can be a pretty demoralizing feeling knowing that you don't really have the speed in that truck anymore to contend for the race win. So credit to at least sticking it out and seeing if you can salvage anything whatsoever from this race.
Brenton Kincott in the 5 has just made the dive onto pit road here. Looking right now at those drivers that just pit. Trent Curtis, last time by 30.627 lap time. Race leader Christian Peterson, he was a 31.8, so that's over a second per lap that those fresh tires are gaining, albeit a lap down. And here we go. We're back side by side and some more contact exchange. These two, they remember last week. Race car drivers are like elephants. They never forget. And the paint continues to be traded between Madalinas and Duda.
You and I are both wrestling fans. I'm going to use a wrestling term. Do we see a bit of a receipt right here?
Oh! Contact made! Doors him up out of the way. Does Madalinas a little hip check there off of 4.
We're going to try and fight back, but I think that was pretty well done there by Madalinas.
And that was for second. Why? Matthew Weeks on pit road, along with Cy Jackson and Nicholas Caressel. So Weeks is going with the strategy here on the undercut. Here comes Jared Duda to pit road as well. Weeks is trying to make a play for the race win. Looks like also Christian Peterson has hit pit lane as well in the 71 from the top position. That puts Madalinas out in front. Linus in the lead, Jackson Sims in second. We saw those two play some tremendous fuel strategy along with Brent Kincott back at Phoenix. There's no way you can save enough fuel to get to the end here at Chicagoland. I think these drivers right now, there's two thought processes here. Jackson Sims locks it up at pit road entry. Look out, that's James Shiflett coming in. Oh, that was going to be a great night for Jackson Sims that goes south with just that little bit of lockup there at the entrance of pit road.
Yeah, that tiny little lockup was all it took, and you see he had to back out of the way, too, for another truck that was coming on the pit road, so tough break there for Sims.
So the strategy here for Madalinas is twofold. One, he's looking to be able to use the heck out of those fresh tires when he makes his final pit stop. But second, he's running the risk that maybe a caution is going to come out and he'll be able to trap a lot of his competition off the lead lap. He can go about another 12 laps if he so chose. I don't know if he'd be willing to give up that much time, though. as he continues to log laps here. This is interesting. So literally you've got two sides of the coin, complete opposite sides of the coin for our two top championship contenders. Weeks with the undercut, Madalinas with the long con. For Matthew Weeks, he's come out in a bunch of traffic here too.
Oh,
this is not ideal.
All the trucks that he has to get around to try and make his strategy work. I mean, so far he's doing a pretty nice job of navigating around it, but it was a pretty scary moment when he first met up with them back through 3 and 4.
The undercut did not work though. 3 trucks up ahead is the 71 of Christian Peterson. So Peterson would cycle back around to the race lead, and it looks like Weeks would have lost a little bit of ground to him, plus Peterson would have better tires than the 56. As Trent Curtis in the 51 trying to close up here on Hunter Madalinas, this would actually put him back on the lead lap, and I think Curtis actually would cycle out to the front. He went with the undercut strategy along with Lewis Woodall with 30 to go. The question would be, can those tires hang on and hold off Peterson, who's only about maybe 5 truck lengths off his back bumper? Madalinas is in from the race lead. Kurt Gibson as well. Spencer Owens now the new driver out in front. And I believe he and Travis Hanby would be the last 2 drivers we are waiting on for this final pit stop cycle. This is the battle for what eventually is going to be the race lead. It's for 3rd place right now. But once everything cycles, this will be for P1. Not going to be much of a contest, it doesn't look like. Big run on the top side off of 2. Clear into 3. Peterson gets around Trent Curtis. And now Peterson would go back to the front once the 23 and the 3 make their dive onto pit road.
You can see in this camera shot, Matthew Weeks is not that far behind these 2 trucks, so it's only a matter of time before he catches up. But how much time does he realistically have? I mean, we're about to hit, what, 15 to go? He's going to have to fly.
Linus right now scored a lap down. He'll get back on the tail end lead lap once the 2 race leaders hit pit road, but he looks like he will cycle to 8th place. Weeks is going to cycle into 3rd as he's trying to close up on Trent Curtis. And of course, Peterson would cycle up to the race lead. Looking at it right now, I believe Matthew Weeks has 1 lap older tires than Christian Peterson. He's got to make quick work here at the 51 so that way he can use these final 15 laps to try and reel in Peterson.
Yeah, and he flies right by him there. They make their way back onto the front stretch.
Weeks might be able to make this mano-a-mano. He was having to fight both the Manji Motorsports teammates for a good portion of that last run. Quite a ways back there to Jared Duda in the 53 with the Trent Curtis truck in between the 2 of them. We'll see what Weeks' 3-time winner can do with Christian Peterson, 4-time winner. If he's able to get up to him right now, he can see the 71. There's about maybe 4.5, 5 truck length separation as Hanby on pit road from 2nd place. Owens we're still waiting on. He can go another 5 laps, can the 23, before he comes to pit road.
There's absolutely nobody, though, right now surrounding these 2 trucks. It's going to come down to Peterson and Weeks. Don't think that lap traffic is going to be a real factor in this one, so that's what makes this, I think, from a commentator's perspective, even more exciting, because these top 2 trucks, they've been arguably the 2 most dominant trucks of the whole day, and now we get to see them duke it out one-on-one to see who can win this race.
Obviously have to wait and see if the tires can hang on, but look at the track position that short pit strategy gained. Trent Curtis, Brent Kincott, and Lewis Woodall, 5th, 6th, and 7th, soon to be 4th, 5th, and 6th. The problem is now, can that tire rubber hang on to hold off the fresher tires behind them of Jackson, Madalinas, and Niswanger? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly for a couple of these drivers, Brent Kincott and Lewis Woodall, a tremendous gain of track position, a net gain is what we call it. Drivers that looked like they were going to finish outside of the top 10 may be able to snipe a top 10 finish here this evening.
Owens is in.
So that will put Peterson to the lead. Weeks into second. And with 12 laps to go, two drivers who have 7 victories on the season between the two of them. One who is trying to grab and extend a points lead in the championship battle going into next week in Matthew Weeks. About a second separation between the two. The lap times are quite similar that time by, both running in the 31.1s, maybe a tick quicker for Christian Peterson, who of course has the clean air to the nose as well. That could be a factor. Even if Weeks gets up there, he's going to have dirty air. He'll have to maneuver around. Peterson's going to be able to play defense.
Just keeping my eye on the gap right now between these two trucks, and it's fluctuating a little bit. I think Weeks has lost a little bit of time trying to catch Peterson.
Around like 10 to go.
Like you said, he has that clean air advantage as well. He gets to pick and choose what line he wants to run on the racetrack, so he'll definitely use that to his advantage.
Hunter Madalina's about 2 to 3 tenths off of Shane Neiswanger. Actually, he just lost a spot to Hunter Brittle. So with losing that spot and Weeks up in second, let's take a look at the live points here with less than 10 to go. Matthew Weeks looking for that one position more. Would it be important? Would it be important for him to get the bonus points for this victory, or would he be satisfied with second, knowing that right now, Madalinas is not currently inside of the top 5? Oh, and we were just praising here, as you see there, 4-point separation between Weeks and Madalinas. We were just praising the good run there, that alternative strategy for Lewis Woodall. Looks like he's had an issue. Came to pit road a couple of laps ago. He may actually be either sitting in his stall or maybe done for the evening. That is a tough break. He was in line for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, tough break.
And what's happened to Madalinas? All of a sudden, he's out of the top 10. Sensi's gotten around him. Fitzgerald's gotten around him. He's all the way back now in 11th place. Is there damage on that right front? I can't tell. But Madalinas has appeared to have something happen here in the closing stages, and just like that, the gap between himself and Matthew Weeks has opened up.
I'm a little bit concerned if something has happened to Weeks as well, because now Duda is threatening for second place.
We're going to jump back and see if we can find anything that might have gone awry for Hunter Madalinas, who all tonight was either the point leader or had Matthew Weeks within 2-3 point striking distance, but now going to find himself somewhere around 7-8 points back. That's if he's able to hold on to the 11th spot. As Hunter Brittle working his way up quickly through the field there. In the 10 truck, he's already up to 5th. He just got around Cy Jackson, so in line for a top 5 run here. Here's a look at what happened. We mentioned the Woodall problem, and apparently it was Madalinas who got him.
That's a massive moment right there in this race, because it looked like Woodall had that problem all by himself, or at least it was going to be all by himself, and then Madalinas found himself in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
5 laps to go, so that certainly explains Woodall out of the race. Madalinas dropping out of the top 10. This would be the first mile-and-a-half racetrack this season that Madalinas would not have a top 10 finish, if indeed he finishes in where he's currently at, the 11th position. And there you see it. It was Madalinas 3 points over Weeks coming into tonight. It would be a 9-point shift. Weeks 6 up on Madalinas going into Iowa with where they currently run.
I think that's why we've seen Weeks back off. Maybe he realizes what's gone on, and he's decided that He's going to back off a little bit, not push too hard to try to fight for the race lead. Just going to try and hold on to second for as long as he can.
This may be the best battle on the track here for the remainder of this race with 3 to go. Shane Neiswanger trying to hold off a hard-charging Hunter Brittle, who's been able to work his way from 9th up to 5th in the last 10 laps, as Peterson dealing with a bit of traffic here. Lap car of Matthew Durr now going to work to the inside of the 4 of Rod Fastnow, but really no challenge in the rearview mirror, so able to take his time, not have to be overly aggressive. Plus he knows that there's only 3 miles between him and a season-leading 5th victory.
It was a great job by Peterson in that 71. Did well on pit road as well, and in a position now where just don't make any mistakes. Make it easy around that lap traffic, as one of those trucks just hit the wall, I believe.
Started this race from the pole position, did Christian Peterson, led the opening stages of the race, but then kind of got shuffled back in traffic. Eventually, after a caution, that number 1 pit stall paid dividends. He won the battle off pit lane with the control truck and really has been ever since the second half of this race began. Looking for his 5th win on the season, which would lead all drivers, and for the first time this season, he's going to go coast to coast with a win from the pole position tonight. It's the Camping World 300K that goes to Christian Peterson. Will cross in second, a big points night for him, and he will be bookended by Manji Motorsports Machines. Jared Duda will bring it home in the 3rd position, and as Hunter Madalinas will cross the line in the 11th position, correction, the 12th position. He just lost the spot to Spencer Owens coming to the checkers. It's now 7 points that he'll be behind Matthew Weeks going into Iowa.
It just goes to show you, when you get into the playoffs, every single moment on the racetrack matters.
When you think about what might have been for Christian Peterson, 5th time he's burning it down here in Season 11 of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. We saw him miss a couple of weeks during the playoffs. He came into tonight subsequently 7th in points, 52 points out. I don't know, I don't think mathematically, even if he won out the rest of the season, that he'd be able to gain enough points to get into the championship conversation with Weeks and Madalinas. But this has been a tremendous tail end of the season run here for Christian Peterson. You go back a couple of weeks ago when he ended up winning at Talladega. He was at the close of the regular season at Auto Club in Victory Lane. Been a good couple of months here for driver 71, and he gets to celebrate here tonight under the lights in the Windy City. Number of drivers here tonight as well. That final pit stop really played a factor into the comers and goers. A lot of drivers that have been up in the top 10 most of the night kind of faded back into the top 15. Subsequently, a lot of drivers that just kind of were hanging in the top 15 for most of this race were able to find their way up into the top 10 and some into the top 5. That final pit stop execution, the timing of it definitely shuffled up what the finishing results looked like, as opposed to what the running order pretty much looked like for, if not 2/3, 3/4 of this race. And we're going to be dialing up our podium finishers here in just a moment. A wild one here at Chicagoland, our last 1.5 mile racetrack on the schedule until we get to the Texas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks, with the championship hanging in the balance. Short track racing on tap next week at Iowa, as I believe we are able to now go down and get a word with now 5-time winner on the season, Christian Peterson, in that number 71 truck. Christian, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yep.
What a wild race here tonight. We saw those starts and restarts be super, super aggressive. Kind of figured out in the back end of the run that track position was everything. You got the pole position here tonight. The execution on pit road got you to be the control truck on a number of those late restarts. How important was it that you cycled out to the front here after that final pit stop?
Yeah, definitely. I think track position definitely helped. Weeks was definitely fast there. Duda was fast. Madalenas, all those guys were quick. So it was. I was trying to save tire there the first run, and then I kind of realized that maybe that's not the play, and you just kind of go hard and try to hold your position and see what happens after that. It seemed kind of hard to pass once the tires wore out. So if everybody was running hard and wearing the tires out, it was just going to be that much harder. So got out front and just kind of held on from there.
The timing of that last caution made things interesting in terms of strategy. We saw some drivers make the dive onto pit road as soon as 30 laps to go. Did you have a number in mind, or were you kind of playing off of some of the other drivers around you? Because I noticed that once Weeks dove to pit road, you were on pit road one lap after. Was that kind of the benchmark?
Yeah, I mean, as the leader in a little bit of a gap, it was kind of just like, I don't want to be the first one, and definitely not going to be the last. So, just wait and if somebody in the top 5 jumps down, go down on that next lap. So we jumped down and it was time. So we got a good green flag stop, and then we got lucky with no yellows there at the end. That was a lot of fun.
You've been able to find victory lane now 5 times this season. Congratulations on that. You now lead all drivers in terms of wins here in season 11, but you've won on multiple different configurations as well. The high banks of Talladega Super Speedway, some short ovals at Richmond and Worldwide Technology Raceway. Of course, we ended up seeing you win the regular season finale at Auto Club, and now you add a 1.5 mile racetrack here tonight at Chicagoland. You've had speed everywhere we went. You came into tonight in a 3-way tie for most wins on the season. How much motivation was it to be the tiebreaker?
Yeah, definitely. It's cool. 5 is a pretty good number, especially with competition like we got. So that's real cool. Got a few more to go though, so try to extend that maybe a little bit and get these team points. I don't think we're that close in the whatever driver points, but team points were pretty close for Manji Motorsports. So try to keep on trucking for that and just keep getting W's.
Well, you mentioned about the fact that you've got that win at Richmond, Worldwide Technology Race. We go to another short oval next week at Iowa, so would not be surprised to see this 71 up front for that race as well. Christian, we'll let you get back to your celebrating for your 5th win on the season in just a moment, but before we do, we'll give you the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, Iowa's definitely should be fun. I like that track. I think Madalenas and I had a good battle there last season, so looking forward to that. Just got to thank everybody at GLR puts on the show, all the guys who show up, race, admin, and put on the broadcast. You guys at Split Second. Got to thank everybody at Manji Motorsports, Manji, Duda, Brett there. I don't think he's officially on the team, but he's been hanging out. And then we got Lide and Dan. So we got a whole crew over there for these races, and it makes it a lot of fun. Kind of going back and forth and just playing it like a NASCAR race. So appreciate you guys for putting on the show, and look forward to next week.
Well, you mentioned the word fun. That was certainly what it was for us up here in the booth, watching the action here tonight from Chicagoland Speedway. Congratulations on the job well done here this evening. Now the first 5-time winner here in Season 11. Go and enjoy it, and well, best of luck to you next week at Iowa. I'm sorry, correction. It is at Iowa. Yeah.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Christian Peterson, our winner here tonight. Second place and new points leader, Matthew Weeks. Let's see if we can dial him up. Hey, Matthew, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, car again here tonight. Your truck good on the long run. However, I mentioned this at the beginning of the race. We normally see you at racetracks. You're a little bit more reserved at the beginning of the run, saving that tire and then charging up through the field second half of the run. That didn't seem to be the case here tonight. You were full court press, aggressively trying to get up there to the front. What fundamentals of this racetrack made you kind of change your strategy up a little bit and fight for that race lead right out of the gate?
Just because once you get, and that once the tires actually flip of about who saved and who didn't, it gets harder to pass because those guys that really burn their stuff, they start running the outside middle lane, and if you're not able to get out there, it's just harder to pass. And then, in this track, the first 10 laps where you're pretty much you can full throttle the first 15 laps of the run if you want to with the truck. So there's a lot of guys doing that. So you don't want to fall too far back while they're doing that. So you're trying to manage track position and save. So my thing was just I wanted to stay in the top 7 the entire time, and then me losing points last week to Hunter, I was just trying to stay in front of him. So that was my mind game the entire time, just try to stay in front of him.
You came into the night 3 points behind Madalinas. You are leaving this evening at 7 points to the good. We ended up seeing numerous times, and we've talked about this the entire playoffs. It seems like when somebody's trying to either pull away from somebody in the standings or trying to close up on them, they always seem to find each other on the racetrack. And you and Madalena several times were locked side by side, battling for spots inside of the top 5. How frustrating can that be as a driver in the fact that I want to get away from him, but everywhere I go, he's there?
It gets aggravating, but you got to look at the big pictures. Looking at the points right now and how close you are, we're pretty much, I think, racing forward. It's between us two right now because we're always in the, I say, top 6 racing every week. So it gets aggravating, but you can't get too aggravated with the person because they're racing for the same thing you are. So, and it's always fun to race someone hard like that and clean, and especially, we're not racing for the win, but, we're still right there 50, 60 laps to go trying to outrace each other and gain as many points on each other as we can going into that final race because you want that cushion in that final race just in case.
So you gain points. You're now the new points leader. We have our finale at the Legacy version of Texas. You won at another Legacy version, a D-shaped mile and a half at Atlanta earlier on in the season. We've got that, plus we've got Iowa coming up next week in between these mile and a half races. With those 2 races left on the schedule, now being able to go into those races as the points leader, what's the confidence level now as opposed to coming into tonight below the cut line?
It's back to how it was before New Hampshire, I would say. I mean, I was stressing New Hampshire because that's my weakest track. Like, I'm not good at that oval, and I made a mistake earlier, got in Elliott, and got really tight on the exit, and then we rebounded, was going to finish 3rd, and then I got turned under caution and lost all them spots. I mean, he didn't mean to, it was an accident, but still, and then, so we needed those points tonight, and then now we got, you said 7 points, and Iowa's like an iffy. Sometimes it's hit and miss for me there, so I'm hoping I go there, hopefully gain a couple more points. That's really what I want to do because, like I said, it's all about just racing him right now. And if we can get to there and gain as many points, it's going to be a breeze at Legacy Texas. But as long as I get there, I say if we get to Texas and say I do lose the points and he's one, as long as we're close enough to one spot between us and I just have to outrace him, I feel pretty good at my shot at Texas because that's probably my best oval on the sim is Legacy Texas. So I'm excited to get there.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to this. This has been a tight points battle here between yourself and Madalinas for the last few weeks, and I think that it's just going to continue here down the home stretch with 2 races remaining. Congratulations on a job well done here tonight. Good execution on pit road, keeping it up inside of the top 5 the entire evening. You came into this race 2nd in points. You leave as the points leader, looking to defend it next week. Before we let you go, Matthew, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I wouldn't say I did good on pit road because I looped it on the first green flag stop on a big mistake. So that's what made me lose some spots. But shout outs to my buddy Justin Vandermeer at JV Designs on Twitter. Hit him up on these paint schemes. This beautiful scheme. I run this scheme on the truck and Xfinity car, and it just looks so sharp, man. And I think I've run the same scheme for like 3 years now. My buddy John Cutlip he paints cars too. Hit him up at JD Designs. All his work's pretty sharp. He paints. I've noticed some coat guys he's painted, and other people I've ran into in races. He does really nice work. In another league, them two probably are the best on the sim with paints, I think. So, and they do a great job. You guys at the booth do a great job. I can't wait to go back and watch this race. This race was pretty fun once you got the 10 laps on the tires on the green flag run and the truck started sliding around. So, shout out to all the guys tonight. It was a good hard race up front, and it was fun. And I'm sweating here, how fun it was. And everyone that watched, and everyone that runs the league, this is a good league, and I've had a good time being a part of it. So hopefully we keep this up and try to win this championship here.
Well, Matthew, congratulations on the great performance here tonight. Second place has you the new points leader in the playoff stands going into next week. Best of luck there at Iowa Speedway in preparation for the finale.
All right, man. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
And let's see if we can close out the podium and talk with tonight's third place finisher, Jared Duda. Hey, Jared, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys. You guys hear me?
We definitely do. Man, a race of track position is what we're being told, and you had that track position all night long. Top 5, top 3 pretty much the entirety of the evening, able to kind of work with your teammate to kind of manipulate the draft of the drivers behind you and everything. But boy, there were some hairy situations on those restarts as well. Double wide, 3 wide. How difficult was it to manage that? Because it's a spacious track, but it certainly narrows up off the corner.
Yeah, no, it was, those restarts were crazy. The racing, it was like you're at New Atlanta the first 15 laps to run, then you're back to a normal mile and a half after that. The tires held on pretty good. You were almost wide open through the whole thing. So people were able to make some moves and use the draft and put their noses where they probably shouldn't have been that early in the race. And yeah, there was some definitely sketchy stuff. And I had a couple close calls, some that I didn't even barely see. So glad to make it through there. But yeah, track position was huge. It was a big game of conserving tire for the late run, but also trying to keep as much track position as possible. And we did just that all night.
It is an interesting battle there in the closing stages leading up to that final pit stop. Of course, your teammate Peterson looking for his 5th win. Weeks was looking for his 4th, and you're looking for your 3rd. So all of you trying to get that formula, that perfect formula in when to pit to gain the track position. It kind of looked like yourself, Weeks, and Peterson were all kind of playing off of each other as to when do we make that final pit stop.
Yeah, it's almost a game of chicken who's going to come first, and then usually once the one guy goes, then everyone else comes. And you kind of saw that's what happened, just because the new tire to old tire fall off was crazy. So if you pitted 5 laps later, you were 10 seconds back, and it was going to be hard to make that up. So yeah, it was definitely first to pit road. Everyone followed. It's just matter of fact when that for who was brave enough to come first, and we just followed suit.
Now, you kind of looking at the remainder of the schedule here. I know we well documented the hard luck you had the first half of this season, but it definitely looks like the wheels of momentum have turned in your direction. You've had a couple of trips to victory lane, a couple of them at short ovals. We go next week to Iowa Speedway, so you weren't able to get that 3rd win here tonight. How confident are you maybe next week is when you'll be parking in victory lane once again?
Yeah, I mean, I like Iowa. I like all short track racing, but short track racing comes with a price, just kind of you saw at New Hampshire. Tends to be a lot of yellows, a lot of chances for guys to be in the fight when they really don't have the speed all night and do some other tricks on it. So, yeah, I mean, I like it. I tend to carry speed there, but weather conditions or track conditions can change, and you might be off on an off night. So we'll go in optimistic, but hopefully we can just execute.
Well, Jared, congratulations on a job well done here tonight. Good, complete race. Top 5 truck all evening long, bringing it home in the 3rd position. Some great momentum heading into next week. Before I let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs. Yeah,
shout out to my teammates, especially the 71 on that win. He was the most dominant truck all night, most dominant truck all year. So finishing, I thought I was able to almost have 2nd on there. I was kind of running down Weeks at the end, but just kind of messed up a couple spots and wasn't able to finish it. Would have been nice to have 1, 2. Finishing 2nd to that 71 truck is definitely an accomplishment in itself, let alone beating them sometimes. So shout out to him and my other teammates, Brett, and then Tony was up on the box for me tonight. I always appreciate that, feeding us info and helping us keep a clean race and eyes in the sky. Shout out to you guys, split second. That was a fun race. I'm glad to go watch it back. Shout out to the guys at GLR. Like always, put on a great league. Again, this is always high competition, high level racing. So it's good to battle with some good drivers, and a lot of guys, like I said, top 12 can win a race any night of the week. And then shout out to Manji Motorsports, Duda Racing, for putting together a fast Ford Racing F-150 tonight. That thing had speed, qualified third, finished third. And we've just been consistent. So shout out to, Duda Racing, Manji Motorsports. I think we're on like 5 in a row, top 5. So not to jinx it, but this thing's had speed, and we want to keep finishing off the season like that. And shout out to everyone watching, on the viewers, my dad, my mom, my girlfriend, Chris. I know they're watching live, so they appreciate you guys putting on the broadcast as well. And shout out to them for tuning in. And otherwise, shout out to the field. It was a good, clean race tonight, a couple yellows, and I was happy to finish that one under green.
Well, the speed is there, and definitely the consistency as well for the 53 truck. Jared, congratulations on another solid run here tonight, and best of luck next week as we head in, or we kind of continue to stay here in the Midwest, getting ready for some short track racing at Iowa.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Jared Duda continues that top 5 streak that he was talking about there. And boy, it's so interesting because we've been mostly talking about Madalinas and Weeks for the points lead, but you go back to last week, New Hampshire, troubles for Weeks. Madalinas takes advantage, take the points lead here tonight. That late race contact with Lewis Woodall, Madalinas finishes out of the top 10, and Weeks with a podium finish takes the points lead back. Been a lot of flip-flopping for that top position here in the standings, and that championship hanging in the balance.
It just goes to show you how intense every single race can be, and how those little moments like that can really go a long way in the course of the season. So this championship battle, it's going to come down to the wire. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out in the coming few weeks.
Jackson Sims going to finish outside of the top 10 and 13th tonight. He leapfrogged Elliott Henderson, but still sits 28 points back, and Henderson, with the early damage, managed to soldier on for a 21st place finish off the lead lap. But with 2 races remaining, it's really starting to look like it may be just a 2-horse race.
Absolutely, and I mean, if the way you described it too, the flip flop of sorts. If those drivers that ran into trouble this week, what happens next week if they end up running 1-2 again, running right by one another or something like that? It's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be fun.
Just to kind of whet everybody's appetite as well. Iowa next week, Texas for the finale. Now, Matthew Weeks, he had a top 5 run at Iowa last season. He also has a victory this season at a legacy version D-shaped mile and a half racetrack at Atlanta, Texas, where the championship's being decided. Guess who won both those races last season? It was Hunter Madalena. So it may be a dogfight between those two in these final 2 races of the season. We'll give you a look at how everyone crossed the start-finish line here this evening. Peterson, with his 5th win on the season, breaks a 3-way tie between himself, Madalinas, and Daniel Nanny. Matthew Weeks brings it home in 2nd, Jared Duda in 3rd. Those 3 were top 5 all night long. Shane Neiswanger, good comeback run for him. He had good track position in the beginning stages of this race, kind of faded back, but gained it back at the latter portion to finish in 4th. And Hunter Brittle, big charge there in the closing stages to bring it home inside of the top 5. Where did Michael Sensi come from? He'll bring it home in 6th. Cy Jackson, another solid performance in 7th. Gavin Fitzgerald, a top 10 run in 8th, with Trent Curtis in 9th, and Brent Kingcutt, who played a little bit of alternative strategy in the closing stages, he will net himself a top 10 this evening. Spencer Owens, he'll bring it home in 11th. That damage on the front end, specifically the right front quarter panel of Hunter Madalinas, will have him finishing in 12th. Jackson Sims just behind him in 13th. James Shiflett and Nicholas Caressel, they'll complete the top 15, with Gibson, Fastnow, Hanby, Barbagelata, and Durr, the rest of your top 20. 16 drivers finished on the lead lap. 21st, as we mentioned, for Elliott Henderson, multiple laps down, damaged and off the pace. That may have taken him out of the championship conversation. Eric Kempf and Brett Malone also finishing multiple laps down. They were the last to finish this race. Rest of the drivers, half dozen of them out of the race tonight. Lewis Woodall, Ashton Lawson, Robin Durr, and then some big hard hits in the early going for Jared Darling, Kyle Cooper, and Jeremy Pienta. That's the way that they crossed the line here tonight in the Camping World 300 Okay. Well, thank you all for tuning to our coverage here tonight. 2 races remain until we crown ourselves a champion here in Season 11 of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. Next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be at the Iowa Speedway. It will set the table, set the stage for the championship battle in the Lone Star State at the Texas Motor Speedway. We hope to see you there. We appreciate you tuning into our coverage here tonight from the Chicagoland Speedway as Christian Peterson nets win number 5 on the season. For Jack Mitchell, our producer, Jeff Johnson, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you next Tuesday night as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of Split Second Broadcasting.